Hi guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we've got 100 Bullets 71. But before we do that, because these are new characters and I got something wrong with the last one, which was not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, and today is kind of late. I'll explain all that to you guys in a minute. But first I want to explain what I got wrong about these new characters. This is the funeral for Alex Nagel, the fourth or fifth member of the Trust to be murdered. And here we have Ronnie Rome, or Ronnie Romulus. I don't know if it's his last name or his first name. But here he is talking to a delicatessen, a butcher he is doing work for. And I had misread this scene yesterday in that I thought the butcher was paying Ronnie for the meat that his brother was delivering from Heinz Meats. But that's not at all what he's doing. Ronnie works for the local Cleveland mob boss or moneylender or Shylock. I think Shylock is a collector, isn't he? Maybe not a moneylender. And what's going on here is that Ronnie had done some work for some competitors of this guy, done some work to get rid of some competitors, some guys who were hassling him about extortion or whatever, and they have not been around since. So he is being paid because he helped this guy further his business aspirations by getting rid of some competition or getting rid of some guys who were leaning on him and giving him a hard time. And that's why him telling Ronnie that his brother is stealing from Heinz Meats is really important, because his boss, Heinz Meats, is insured by his mob boss. So if it gets back to and it all starts out with him telling this guy his family is a joke, because he's got a Puerto Rican stepson, a black stepson, and a white Jewish son with a Puerto Rican woman. And he says that, a Puerto Rican, a black, and a Jew walk into a bar with their mom. And that pisses this dude off. And so this dude tells Ronnie that his brother is stealing from his boss. And when his boss finds out, he's going to come down on him and his mom. And all three of them live in the same house. Ronnie, his brother, and his mom still live at home. And this guy knows it, so other people presumably know it too. But I had thought that they were just collecting money for meat they delivered, and that's not at all accurate. So I wanted to go through that with you guys. And here is 100 Bullets 71. It starts off with that little house in Cleveland, Ohio. And if you've ever lived in a small town, if you grew up in a small town, the lifestyle is very different. Everybody knows everybody else's business. And it goes on like that straight through until the adults die. Now, when you leave a small town and you go out, move to the big city, and you change all the people around you, and you don't know anyone, you presume that nobody else knows anyone. And especially in a city like Los Angeles, where almost everyone is an immigrant. There are some people who grew up here, and they have this different perspective on the city. But even they know that a city like this, or a city like New York, Cleveland too, I'm sure, is very large and does have a movable population, but it also has this core population of people who know each other and know everything about each other because they've known each other since they were children. And if you grew up in a small town like that, everybody not only thinks they know you, and they do in a way. They know if you've never been out of there, if you went to college or whatever, but you didn't have a significant part of your life away from a small town, the people you're living with do know a lot about you. They know what you have not done. They may not know what you have done, but they do know what you haven't done. And they have a pretty good estimation of your capabilities and your responses to whatever might happen. They have a pretty good understanding of who you are, probably better than you do of yourself. And here we have Remy, Romulus and Remus. Remy is Remus. Romulus is, of course, Rome. Remy waking up his girlfriend at 5:30 in the morning, Pam, and he pulls the blankets off of her. And she's like, shit, I'm still sleeping. He's like, shush, you're going to wake up my mom. She'll blow a fart and burn down the house. He says some funny line like that. She wants to know if he's still going to give her a ride to work. And, oh, they go back and forth about you're a dick. He says, I'm a big dick, and that's why you love me, and that kind of stuff. A little banter. And then he says, be quiet or I won't give you a ride to work. And so they are coming down the stairs, lights on in the kitchen. And she asks if they can go to the movies tonight. He says, we're going to so-and-so's bar. Some band is playing. Oh, are we going to the show? And then they walk into the kitchen where Ronnie is wearing skimpy bikini briefs to make coffee. And they get to make fun of him about it. And then Remy has to again remind Ronnie that it's their mom's birthday tonight and to be home for dinner. And blah, 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 bring a present. So, yeah, okay, very good. Papa Midnight from John Constantine. I think that was Jamie Foxx, wasn't it? I don't know, maybe not. No, it was that guy from the African movies. It was that guy who played the lead of the tribe in the new Tarzan movie. He's been in a bunch of movies. I think he was in Gladiator. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyhow, Damon Hunsu, is that guy's name? Damon Hunsu. This is Lono arriving at the Medici's penthouse, presumably in a hotel. Crete lets him in and he asks him where the coffee is. He says it's over there. There what? It is, sir. So Lono walks in and asks Augustus what he wants in his coffee. And then Crete says it's my job to take care of his needs. So Lono didn't want the coffee for himself. He just wanted to upstage Crete, which is pretty funny. Not very relevant. It's a little relevant. I love Aeon Flux. Here we get Megan coming out of the bedroom, tucking her boob into her robe. And Lono and Crete go back and forth. He says Crete's laying down on the job. Augustus says, I think yesterday's meeting went pretty well, don't you? And Lono says, you do? Lono's not going to change who he is just because he's in a room with Augustus, Megan, and Crete. He can't. That's absolutely impossible. His personality is kind of written in stone. And that's what makes this scene play out so strong. It's really good. So Lono goes back and forth. He tells them that that no one thinks you're a threat, and solving a civil war with another civil war is a great way to go about it. And Megan takes this opportunity to test Lono. Megan says, you look angry, Lono. And Augustus says, he always does. Takes some getting used to. She says, and you're used to it? As long as he remains useful. And Lono sees this as an opportunity to assert his reason for being. And he says, you want to test me? And of course, Augustus, who I've noticed has this scar right here on his mouth, and it's even present in this mirror shot. I noticed it in the last one where it was really, really obvious. Like a cleft lip scar, except it's a little bit further out on his mouth. Augustus says, no, of course I don't want to test you. It's just a joke. You've proven yourself to me beyond your actions. And Megan says, put your gun to your head. Augustus says, Megan, he works for us. He's supposed to do whatever we tell him. So let's see. So tell me what's actually out of his comfort zone. And Lono does what he's told. He puts his gun to his head and says, now tell me to pull the trigger. And you can bet that he would. You can absolutely bet that he would. There's a really great Japanese samurai trilogy. I want to say it's called Outcast, but I know that's wrong. It's got Takashi Kaneshiro in it, Beat Takashi. I think his name is Takashi Kaneshiro. The guy who played Zatoichi in the Zatoichi remake and was in a bunch of Takashi Miike movies. And he's become a great director of Japanese films. And at the very end, they tell him to commit suicide. And he's been through hell in these three films. I don't know if it was called Outcast. God, I'm spacing on it. It's definitely something that starts with an O. And they tell him to commit seppuku or harikari. God, harikari. Whatever. They tell him to commit seppuku. And he does instantly, without a hesitation. And he looks happy to do it. It was obvious that they had put him through hell and he'd always been obedient. And then at the end, he was happy to be done. And so Lono, Lono is a samurai, but of a different stripe, and he wants to make sure that Megan is up to the challenge. He doesn't serve unworthy masters, whereas the Yakuza, the samurai, you don't judge your master's worthiness. Lono judges, and clearly that's what he's doing in this scene, with Augustus telling Crete not to shoot him. And Lono explains that she thinks that I'm not on her side, that I really want the trust dead. If that were true, you would all be underground at that little sit-down. I would have done it yesterday at that little sit-down. I would have started with her, and him, and him, and him. He rips out that dude's eye, which is why I was not here yesterday. I went in for my checkup yesterday morning, and they did not like the way the retina was healing, and I had to have a second surgery where they removed the gas bubble and put in an oil bubble. And at first I thought maybe it was my fault that I didn't participate in the healing process as much as I should, keeping my face at a 90-degree angle to the floor. But it turns out that's not really the case. They just needed some time to see how their work resolved, and you can't see it in the moment, and so the eye needed to heal a bit. And then they saw that there were some other things they needed to go in and do. So now I'm going to have Now I'm going to have an oil bubble in my eye for a year that I have to go down and get weekly shots so it doesn't get infected. And that's life now. So been doing this about a year and a couple weeks. And I've really had to, question myself, what am I doing this for? What am I getting out of this? Even if I'm just getting this out of it, it's worth it. I had a conversation today with a good friend of mine. We spent a couple hours in the car. He gave me a ride back to the doctor's office. I had to go in for a checkup today, right after the surgery. So the surgery was Wednesday. Today's Thursday night. So I was down there for a few hours this morning. I came home and slept all day. And now we're doing this. So I do think it's worth it. I have thought about whether or not I want to focus on producing a comic, the rosary blocks, or the game, or what do I need to focus on hard and fast? Honestly, I think it needs to be the racing game. The racing game can give me comics for the characters and toys for their vehicles. So that's 3 out of 1, and that's good. Doing just a comic about racers isn't good enough. Doing just toys isn't good enough. But a game is good enough, and a game does support ancillary entertainment products, I guess, is what you would call a comic book and a toy. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I was hoping that I was going to be working on that yesterday, but instead I had to have a new surgery, and now I'm supposed to still be keeping my face down at 90 degrees to the ground. So now I have to find a way to do this game and work on this computer, the system, while looking at the ground. And it's not going to be easy. I really have to work that out tomorrow. Also, I love Lono's knife here. I have this knife, or I gave it away to a friend of mine not too long ago. It's a really good bush knife. But anyhow, continuing, he says this is what he would have done. If you couldn't trust him, if the trust could not trust Lono, the warlord, the leader of the Minutemen, the new Agent Shepard, then he would have killed you all yesterday and been done with it. And he says, Megan hears Augustus being thrown through the window, and he tells her she would have died about 10 minutes ago after he got finished fucking her to death. So, now, if she doesn't trust him, then, I want to say all's well that ends well, but that's not what happens here. So let me take a look really quick. So here we get Augustus saying, Lono, and she says, made his point, put down your gun. Okay. Now can we talk about the new Civil War? This looks good. Poison lives, strychnine lives. I wonder which of the stories this one condenses. It is interesting that they started putting out the trade paperbacks almost immediately after the comic. And I think with an award-winning comic, that's what you want to do. This is what clued me into the fact that I was wrong about Ronnie Rome's business. The janitor in that last one where he was with the Jewish butcher called him Mr. Rome. Everyone else calls him Ronnie. And here he is meeting with Danny DeVito. This also really clued me into small town American life. We're in Cleveland. We're in a small diner, a little Waffle House where all the bad guys do their business, which is silly, but it works really well in TV and comics. Bad guys would have the back of the butcher shop, like Satriali's in The Sopranos, right? They would have a hangout. They would have a place. But so here, I love this coat too. I want this coat. Rome walks in to talk to his boss while these guys are walking out. These are the guys who he would be having to deal with when his boss finds out, or his brother would be having to deal with when his boss finds out his brother is stealing from him. So Ronnie sits down, has a cup of coffee with his boss, who starts in. Here's another thing about small towns. Small towns people, and it is such a massive part of this book. This is why I'm glad I'm doing this. This is the lesson I'm learning for today. Small town people love small talk. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel noticed. And it is a version of television. It's entertainment to have a quick little coffee clutch conversation with people. I believe I am a psychopath, sociopath, and I believe that's at least 50% of my personality. I've never been interested in small talk. I'm only about the work. And that has made networking and friendships for me difficult, but I've always been above competence, above board when it came to whatever job I'm doing. I'm one of the best guys doing it. So there are lots of things to learn. There are lots of lessons to learn, and I need to learn this. But I don't have a boss like this, so I don't have to do this. Ronnie walks in and his boss says, "How do I look? I feel terrible. I've got these dark bags under my eyes. I think I need a facelift. I think I need to have this pulled back. Would it make me look better? Better? Would it make me look younger?" And we go back and forth, and it's gay, ain't it? It's not gay. It's not riding a pole. Well, that's homo. I'm talking gay here. What's the difference? Homo's doing homo stuff. Gay is just like caring about yourself. So this page is great small town stuff. Now we have a culture where, what really struck me as silly was when all the tranny stuff started and these men felt like women inside. Well, if there was no difference, you would just feel human and you wouldn't have to wear a dress. You'd wear whatever. You wouldn't dress up any special way. You would just be a person if your gender wasn't important to you. And if gender is important, then it's important biologically and not psychologically. Psychologically, it shouldn't matter whether you wear a dress or jeans. It really shouldn't. But the world is a crazy place and people's heads are fucked up. So this old guy, for January 7th, it is January 7th, 1-7 down there. This waitress is not wearing much clothes. I know that this place ain't that warm. This diner is not warm enough for those shorts and that top. But here we are. So while these guys are having a conversation about what's gay, these guys come outside and find this kid putting flyers on cars, kick his ass. He throws a snowball at them. They point a gun out the window and he runs off. Meanwhile, Ronnie and his boss are having a conversation about work, about what's going on, what he needs to do. He needs to go over and lean on a bar owner who hasn't been paying him what he should. This page is about business. And he wants him to go in and take the earnings for the day at the end of the night, whatever he made, because he hasn't been paying. And he says, okay. And so then he says, oh, and this. What's this? It's a dress. It's for your mom. It's her birthday, isn't it? Ronnie probably still hasn't gotten her a present. Little kids leaving tracks through the snow. And now we get another fully subtext scene, kind of like the last one. This is Remy, who's been stealing meat from Heinz Meats, which is where he's cutting the meat. And this guy comes in, and it seems like his company supplies them beef. He might be a cattle rancher somewhere in the Cleveland, Greater Ohio area. And they're talking about the good beef. And, well, first they're talking about he wants him out at 10 o'clock at such and such place. And he's like, I can't get out that late. And he's just, well, give her the high hard one. Well, then she'll want to cuddle and I'll fall asleep. And he says, oh, you finished first, huh? You're not a very good husband. And that sort of takes him back, you know. And he tells him, here's what you do. After you come inside her, go down on her until she comes again. And then she'll be in love with you and you'll have a clean pass for a month. And he says, but that's gay. I'll have myself in my mouth. He says, but you cut your finger and put it in your mouth. And don't tell me you didn't eat your boogers as a little kid. It's all you. So this is more shocking language in 100 Bullets. Here comes the boss scratching his ass. This is the owner of Heinz Meats. This is the guy that Ronnie is stealing from. Presumably he already knows, but cannot prove it yet. This hard hat is awesome, by the way. It's a really good drawing of a hard hat. It looks good. Most hard hats look like shit, but that looks cool. Okay, so this is important. The boss comes in, the owner of Heinz Meats. And this guy's not a cattle rancher. His dad runs a restaurant, I suspect, or a shop of some sort. And he comes in, Bobby Arolo, so he knows him. And it's really interesting. He says, you bringing me work? Why are you messing with my guy when he's here to work? I need him working for me. And then he says, when's your dad going to finally come around that we got the best beef in Cleveland? The best? At the price? Remy says, it is the best. There's no denying that. And he says, I'll talk to my old man, but Mike Grass has been our purveyor since fucking forever. See you later, Remy. Hope so. And he says, make sure you brush your teeth, because they had that conversation earlier. But so look at what's happening here. The owner of a beef shop walks in on his employee and a guy who buys beef but doesn't buy it from him. What could they possibly be talking about? And he, of course, does his sales pitch. Hey, when's your old man going to buy from us? Oh, we buy from Mike Grass. He's been our guy forever. I thought maybe this guy was a cattle rancher or something, but I do not believe that is the case at all. He is a buyer of meats, meeting up with this guy's employee later. Now, I know it's a small town in a small world, but it ain't that fucking small. And he ain't that fucking stupid. So, Mr. Hines, Bobby Arolo, hey, how you doing? Get us that good meat, right? So that's what made me think he's a cattle rancher. And then Remy is, but hey, make sure you're out at 10 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. I need to see you tonight. They've got something cooking for later in the evening. And he told his girlfriend that they were going out to that club to see the band, but it is also Mom's birthday, so they got to have dinner with Mom first. Here we get the brother and sister. Again, new characters, 100 Bullets, new to us. Lars and Anna. She's rinsing her mouth out after we had that conversation about some disgusting stuff in your mouth. And Lars, yes, Anna, have you seen it's next to your bed. No, not that. Oh, I found it. Her purse. It looks like they live in one of the many Flatiron buildings in New York City. And they, brother and sister, may very well be sleeping together, like Jaime and Cersei Lannister. They have that sort of extra familiar brother and sister relationship that most brothers and sisters, even if they're a year apart, don't have. They certainly don't live together as adults. They would be living with their significant others. And she's looking for cigarettes, and he says, hey, I've made reservations for us at Dad's old haunt, El Coyote, which I think means coyote, or like Don Quixote. I don't know. El Coyote. It looks like it's spelled different. I think there is an X in Don Quixote. This is between them. She's refusing to make a decision, and she's leaving it up to him. He says we should talk about what the trust, they're going to be expecting an answer. She is like, what do you mean? Well, give them one. Which one? She says, does it matter? Well, one of us has to leave the house, and that'll change what? What do you mean? You mean about us? Yeah, what else is there? And then she says, look, I am older and wiser by a few minutes and a few trips around the block. And then we get this. Lars, this is more important to you. I'm good with whatever you decide. As long as you understand that we're in this together and nothing changes. I do. Well, that's all I want. And he says, since when? And she says, have a nice night at Daddy's Dive. So she's going out on her own. She's got shit going on that he doesn't know about, and he is acting like a cucked boyfriend. A brother wouldn't behave this way unless he's sleeping with his sister. There's no way. He's acting like a boyfriend. He's not acting like a brother. A brother would have said, I'm going to go in there and tell them it's me. And I'll let you give me advice, but I'm running it. I'm the man. Whereas a guy sleeping with his sister will defer to her, even if he's younger, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But she's clearly not just sleeping with him. She's going out on her own and not telling him where she's going. A girlfriend could not get away with that. A girlfriend, where are you going? I'm not telling you. You're my brother, right? No. A girlfriend, well, don't come back. The door will be locked. Not that you would do that, but you would do that if it happened often enough. Happy birthday, pretty lady. Oh, Ronnie, don't you start. I haven't been pretty for 50 years. How can that be when you're only 39? 39. I remember that birthday. Do you remember what your dad did for me for my 39th birthday? I don't remember. That's because you and Rummy were over at your aunt and uncle's house and he kept me up all night. Come on, Mom. All night, you hear me? Me and your father, worrying about you and your brother. We haven't seen what kind of gift he's got for yet. He's just getting home, hanging up his jacket. Pouring some wine. Speaking of, where is my brother? He's out in the garage. Told me not to come in there. He's getting something ready. It's a surprise. Yo, Remy. What? Remy? I couldn't see what this was at first. I thought it was some kind of like ladder sort of stand that he had stuff on, but it's not. He's got a present and a briefcase. And that briefcase had a picture and a gun. So, Remy has met Agent Graves. And Ronnie, Rome, does not seem to remember his life as a Minuteman. So, it is very possible that he has not heard the word Croatoa, and his brother may walk in there and say it to him. We'll see what happens. See what happens tomorrow. So, guys, Lone Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. No one ever said Lara Croft was a girl boss, right? 100 Bullets 71. I was also going to get back on camera yesterday because I was starting to look normal again and was able to use my eye. But now it's all swollen shut and looks ridiculous. And to be honest, I don't have a lot to say that I haven't said right here. So, all right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.